Daf Yomi, Tracting Menachot, page 41b. Tanu Rabbanan Talas, one line in. Tanu Rabbanan Talas Shukot Cheles. Kol Mitvoin Baduin Bachos Mikala Ilan. The sages taught in a Braita in the case of a cloak that is made entirely from sky blue, strings of every type of color exempted. Meaning, the ritual fringes that are not techeles may be in any color except for indigo, a color that is indistinguishable from techelet. This indicates that if one attached strings dyed with indigo alongside the strings dyed with techeles, the ritual fringes are unfit. Meisvei talis in poiterbo elamino talis shukoi techeles. Maybe the Chaylev without having to about the Kolayilana. Lo Yovi, Vimhe, by Kosher. The Gemara raised an objection from a Braita. A cloak is exempted only by strings of its own type. In the case of a cloak that is made entirely of sky blue wool, one brings sky blue strings and something else, meaning strings of a different color, and attaches them to the cloak. And he may not bring strings dyed with indigo along with the strings dyed with techeles, but if he brought strings dyed with indigo together with the strings dyed with techeles, the ritual fringes are fit. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchok lo yikasher kan betalis bas arba chutin kan betalis bas shmoina chutin. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak said, this is not difficult because here, in the Braita that holds that the ritual fringes are fit after the fact, is referring to a cloak that has only 4 strings, 2 of techeles and 2 of indigo. There, in the Braita that holds that the ritual fringes are unfit after the fact, is referring to a cloak that has 8 strings, 4 of techeles and 4 of indigo. In this case, the sages were concerned that one would take the 4 indigo strings from this garment and use them in another garment, thinking that they were techeles. Shemat mino matirim begel beged dilma I avad. The Gemara asks, should you conclude from the fact that sages were concerned lest one take the indigo strings from this garment for use in another garment, that in general one may untie ritual fringes from one garment in order to fix them to another garment? The Gemara responds, perhaps their concern was that if one did transfer strings, he might mistake indigo for techeles, but it is not permitted to transfer the strings ab initio, which means l'chazchila itmar Rav Amar ein matirin mi beged lebeged u'shmuel ma matirin mi beged lebeged. It was stated that there is a dispute between Amoraim with regard to this halacha. Rav says one may not untie ritual fringes from one garment in order to affix them to another garment, and Shmuel says one may untie them from one garment and affix them to another garment. Rav Amar ein madliki miner laner u'Shmuel lo madlikin laner. The Gemara cites additional disputes between Rav and Shmuel. It's a major segue here. Okay, we're talking about tzitzis here, and now we're going to candles. Hanukkah. The Gemara cites additional disputes between Rav and Shmuel. Rav says one may not light from one Hanukkah lamp to another Hanukkah lamp. And Shmuel says one may light from one Hanukkah lamp to another Hanukkah lamp. Rav Amar ein halacha k'Rabbi b'geriro, u'Shmuel amar halacha k'Rabbi b'geriro. Rabbi Shimon rules that it's permitted to drag items on Shabbat despite the possibility that one might thereby create a furrow in the ground. Creating a furrow is a labor prohibited on Shabbat, but since he does not intend to create the furrow, and it is not certain that the furrow will be created, dragging the item is permitted. Rav says the halacha is not in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Shimon with regard to dragging items on Shabbat, and Shmuel says that the halacha is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Shimon with regard to dragging items on Shabbat. Omer Abaye kol mili dema ovid grav lebar mehane tlas de ovid kishmuel matirin מבגד לבגד ומדליקים מנר לנר והלוכו כרבי שמעון מגרירו. Abaye said, in all halachic matters of the master, meaning Rabbah, he conducted himself in accordance with the opinion of Rav, except these three, where he conducted himself in accordance with the opinion of Shmuel. He ruled that one may untie ritual fringes from one garment in order to fix them to another garment, and one may light from one Chanukah lamp to another Chanukah lamp. And the halacha is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Shimon with regard to dragging items on Shabbat. Tanya Rabbi Shimon Odamita Kise v'safsol bilvad shelo yitkaven latzris choritz. As it is taught in Bright, Rabbi Shimon says a person may drag a bed, chair, or bench on the ground on Shabbat, provided that he does not intend to make a furrow in the ground. Even if a furrow is formed inadvertently, one does not need to be concerned. Rabbi Yehuda Masarle lekatzo, Rav Chanina v'le siso, Ravina chayad lehu michad. The Gemara relates that Rabbi Yehuda would give his garments containing ritual fringes to a laundryman, and was not concerned that the strings dyed with techelos might become detached, and that the laundryman would replace them with strings dyed with indigo. Rav Chanina would form a bundle with his ritual fringes so that they would not become detached while they were being laundered. Ravina would tuck them into a pocket he formed on the garment, and sew the cover of the pocket in order to protect the ritual fringes. Tanu Abanon. Kabachutini noisim b'shamay oimrim arbo. V'yisiril oimrim shloisho. The sages taught in a Braita how many strings is one placed on the garment. The Bishamai say 4 strings are inserted into the hole in the garment, so that there are 8 strings hanging down altogether. The B'nai say 3 strings are inserted into the garment. Kamei mishuleshes. Bishamai oimrim arba v'yisiril oimrim shloish. Shloish b'nai oimrim. ושלוש שבית הלל אומרים אחס מארבע בטבע כל אדם של כל אדם אמר פאפה תוך דרייסה 4 בגודל 6 בקטנה 5 בטילדה. And how much should be hanging beyond the knots and windings? Shammai say 4 finger breadths, and Beis Hillel say 3 finger breadths, and the 3 finger breadths that Beis Hillel say should be hanging are each 1/4 of the handbreadth of any average person. The Gemara knows that Rav Papa said the handbreadth of the Torah is 4 finger breadths if measured by the thumb, 6 finger breadths if measured by the smallest finger, and 5 measured by the third, meaning the middle finger. Amar Rav Huna, Araba b'torich Araba, Mishlosh Zaba, Rav Yehuda Amar, Shlosh b'torich Shalosh, Mishlosh b'Shalosh. Rav Huna says that the halacha is one must attach 4 strings within 4 finger breadths of the edge of the garment, and they should hang down 4 finger breadths beyond the knots and windings. Rav Yehuda says, and Rav Yehuda says, one must attach 3 strings within the 3 finger breadths of the edge of the garment, and they should hang down 3 finger breadths beyond the knots and windings. Amar of Papa Hilchasa Arba b'toich Shalosh Mishuleshes Arba. Rav Papa says that the halacha is that one must attach 4 strings within 3 finger breadths of the edge of the garment, and they should hang down 4 finger breadths beyond the knots and windings. Remember these, shiuro u'aminu tzitzis. Ein tzitzis el yoitze, ben tzitzis el mashehu. וכבר עלו זקני בית שמאי וזקני בית הלל לעליית יוחנן בן מסירו. ואמרו ציציס אין לה שיעור, כי יוצא בוי לולב אין שיעור, אין בוי שיעור. The Gemara asks, is this to say that the ritual fringes have a required measure? And the Gemara raises a contradiction to this from a Braita. The verse states that they prepare for themselves strings. Numbers 15:38. Strings are nothing other than what emerges from the corner of the garment, and the term strings indicates only that there must be strings of any length. And it already occurred that the elders of Beit Shammai and the elders of Beit Hillel ascended to the attic of Yochanan ben Betera, and they discussed the matter and said, ritual fringes have no measure. Similarly, a lulav has no measure. My love ein shiur klal la. Does this not mean that ritual fringes have no required measure at all? The answer is no. I will continue the next Amud. Thank you for joining.